Okay, so it's Unit 4, we're doing finance, and this time we're going to look at the long-term source of finance. Just want to recap again for you, especially for your exam. If in the ABQ it asks you to talk about sources of finance, you must give one short, one medium and one long. If it specifically asks for a long-term source of finance, you're okay taking these three if they're relevant to your ABQ. Okay, so the first one is you can use your savings. So you've saved money through your profits. Okay, I'll just put in the word profits there. Now, obviously, in business, we don't use the word savings, we use the word reserves or retained earnings. Retained because you've retained them, you've kept them in the business, earnings that you've made, and you've decided to use this money. This is a great one to use because there's no repayments on it. The only thing is you're eroding all your savings. Government grant is another good one that people, businesses like to get money from because it doesn't have to be repaid. Now just remember with the government grants, if you get it for a specific purpose, you can only use the money for that purpose, and sometimes they can put conditions onto you getting the grant. A long-term loan, it's the very same as a medium-term loan, only for greater than 5 years. So with a long-term loan, you pay back the amount that you borrowed and interest every month. A debenture is slightly different. It's still a loan, but with a debenture, what usually happens is you pay the interest regularly, say the interest every month for maybe 20 years, and then you pay the lump sum, the initial amount that you borrowed back at the very end in a lump sum. And then equity capital is you've decided to sell shares in your company. Now, this is going to come in here. Control is going to come into this one, and so is security. So these two become relevant when we're going to talk about our long-term sources of finance. Now, there's only one other thing that I want to just remind you of. I'm mentioning these two are called debt capital, and this here is called equity capital. These two, this particular scenario, debt and equity capital, comes up in the papers a lot. It is in Unit 4 in the chapter that we're doing in finance. It's also covered again in ratios, and I'm going to be doing a few videos on that. And in Unit 5, it's covered in business startup and expansion. So if you imagine, I think there's 23 chapters in your textbook, and debt and equity capital are covered in 4 to 23 chapters. So the possibility of debt and equity coming up in your exam is very, very high. Okay, so you've your 5 long-term sources of finance. Again, you want to compare them using cost. Security is going to come in here. Why does security come in with long-term source of finance? It tends to be money that you're borrowing for greater than 5 years. Why is it greater than 5 years? Because you're borrowing such a large amount. You're buying kind of fixed assets. You're buying buildings, you're buying land, it could be machinery. You're buying something that will last you greater than 5 years. Generally, if you're borrowing a large amount of money, the banks will require security, also called collateral, and they will use this in case you default on your loan. Tax implications. Now, this is where it's going to come different. All these two are tax deductible because interest is tax deductible, and we said that for the short term and the medium term. The only thing, and this is all you have to remember, the only thing that is not tax deductible is your dividends. So if you sell shares, you're going to have to give these people something back, these shareholders back a reward, and that's called a dividend. But the dividend is not tax deductible. Control, the only one, well, a few of these kind of affect your control. Remember I said that this won't affect your control because you're just using your savings. This one might affect your control a little bit, as in there might be a few little conditions put in, but nothing major. What really affects the control is if you start selling shares in your company, each share is entitled to a vote. So you're kind of giving people a say in your company. So you're kind of losing control of your company. Even though we like selling shares in one sense because they don't have to be paid back, sometimes people opt to go for the debentures or the loan because they want to maintain control of their business. Repayments, all of these, right? Reserves, retained earnings do not have to be repaid. The grant does not have to be repaid unless you break the conditions. The long-term loan must be repaid. A debenture must be repaid, but remember, you pay the amount that you borrowed, the lump sum, it could be in 20 years' time. And the equity capital does not have to be repaid. So again, the long-term source of finance, all 5 of those you're going to use, and just make sure you know the difference. Now the debt, equity, capital,
comparing which one you should go with. Should you go for a debenture or should you go for selling shares? I'm going to do that in a different video with you.